Hey everyone, today we're going to explore the Indian Wells Canyon area and also the beautiful Five Fingers Mountain that's close by. Now this is a quite remote area and it goes up the canyon, and the road is pretty good for a while as long as it's dry. It's probably two-wheel drive if it's dry, but as you go further up the canyon it becomes pretty difficult to pass. But we're going to skip that for now and continue up the road toward Five Fingers, which you can see on the upper left there. The road's pretty good. You pass an old cattle stall there and there's a turnout, and then further on up the road there's another turnout where you can park, but after that it becomes really difficult, and I ended up turning around and coming back down to search out a nice camping area. And as I came down the road I did find a turnoff, and at that turnoff I decided to take it and explore it. And it was pretty nice going along, and as I went further along the turnout I discovered a second road which was a little dead end, and then I found this amazing camping spot. So I pulled off and parked the van there, and at this camping spot I discovered that I had amazing views in all directions. I could look up the canyon for beautiful views, Owens Peak and over that direction, and then I could turn around and look all the way back down the canyon from where I had come toward Ridgecrest, California. And then in the background was the beautiful Five Fingers Peak, and I had planned to hike that the next morning. So that's what I did.
Good morning and good day, everyone. It's a beautiful morning. It is not even 6 a.m. yet. Looks like it's 5:55. It's a beautiful sky. This is my campsite. It was really peaceful last night. The low was 72 degrees Fahrenheit. So for that reason, I've decided to skip breakfast and attempt this hike up to the peak here before the sun gets too intense, because I expect it to be very hot today. So it's super steep. I don't know how this is going to go. I know there's a four-wheel drive road that goes around the mountain that you can use. I'm not going to go that way. You could probably hike that way, but it'd be a lot more miles. This is a really short, direct route. So let's give it a try. Well, not too surprisingly, the first obstacle here is in this wash. There's actually water flowing pretty nicely in this little stream. I'm gonna have to find a way to get across this without getting my tootsies wet. Okay, I found a nice narrow spot here where I can definitely just step right across. Real brushy here though, trying to find my way through this brush. What's weird is somebody's come along and hacked down these bushes, like this one for example. Not sure what that's about. Alright, this bushwhacking section is far more difficult than I expected. Wow, you can see it behind me. Looks like nothing, but it was pretty hard. I got through that. Now I'm on the mountain proper, and yes indeed, it's super steep and sandy. I really don't know how this is gonna go. It's super difficult. But one thing is, I'm glad it's not too hot yet. By the time I come down, it's probably gonna be scorching, but the trip down should be much easier. I'm gonna go below this rock here. Oh man, well, I didn't expect it to be easy. Alright, I'm part way up and it's just steep slogging, and fortunately the ground is somewhat firm, so I do have some traction even though it's really hard. I think it does get steeper as I get up higher. Let's turn around, show you the view down to the valley, which is amazing. Sorry about my breath. There's the van down there in the center of the frame. That's Owens Peak up there. That's a little outcropping over there that we hiked up to yesterday. And then here is the road continuing up the valley. You can see someone else camped at that turnout up there. It gets real four-wheely after that. It's super rutted, not maintained, so it's not a way that I can go, but it does go through. Alright, so the footing is getting really weird here. It's really difficult, and it's kind of the one step forward, two steps back kind of thing. I think what I'm going to do is try to head for that ridge there and then maybe go up the ridge to the top. I'm hoping it'll be slightly less steep because it's just at a steepness now where it's really difficult to make progress. Alright, so I've gained the ridge and decided to just sit down and try to catch my breath. Directly in the distance there, I think that's the California Aqueduct. It's not a road, it's an aqueduct. It must be going underground, maybe in a pipe or maybe just underground, not sure. There's no water on the surface. And there's the staging area that I hiked from yesterday, and there's the rock outcropping that I hung out, and there's the trail that continues up to Owens Peak. And there's the Indian Wells Valley Road that goes straight up the valley. And then behind me you can see the Five Fingers Peak. And the funny thing is, when you first start up, it felt like it was getting closer very quickly, and then as you get higher and higher, the peak seems farther and farther away. Got a little bit of a ways to go, but it catch my breath. The good news is I'm still in shade. It's warm, I'm sweating, but it's not unbearable. And the sun's coming up from this direction, so it's going to peek over the ridge pretty soon. And when it does, it's going to get really warm. By then I hope to be up near the top. All right, you can see I'm kind of in a rock field now, that these big rocks have tumbled from the summit. One over there to the left, and then there's a split one up there, cracked in half. I guess it levels out a tiny bit here, so these rocks they're not particularly round, so they were able to stop their progress down. Oh boy, getting up there. Not gonna lie, it was a pretty good idea to get on this ridge, because it's just a little bit less steep, and I don't have to sidestep up it. I can just walk up it, and I'm not slipping back, so this is much better going than it was back there. Okay, it looks like I've come upon the trail that I was looking at yesterday. It goes straight down to that other staging area down there. I'm going to go ahead and stay on this trail, and I believe what I'm going to do on the way down is I'm going to head down the trail and then back to the staging area, and then just take the road up back to the vehicle. I think that's going to be a better route. This is as it looked like before. It's still very steep and straight up. All right, looking off in the distance that way, you can see the shadow of the Five Fingers. The one on the right is kind of that kind of sharp shaped one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These lower two, those also have a name, which I forget, but they're named separately from the Five Fingers. Okay, right here you can see that this is the lower peaks. And I'm fortunate in that the sun is behind the larger of those two, so I'm still in shade and I'm almost up there. And I might limit my climbing ambitions to climbing up between those two. And then over to the left is the Five Fingers, which we just see one of them from here, but should open up as we get up a little higher. All right, so now we're right next to the lower peaks. Looks like a pretty easy little jaunt to get up between them. And fortunately, we are still in shade. All right, everybody, looks like I made it up here. It took me just over an hour, and the ascent is 1081, so a little over 1,000 feet. And I'm up between the lower mountain here, and then we're looking back over that away to the sunny side. So that was a really difficult climb. You know, I'm kind of old and slow, and I'm carrying camera gear and taking pictures and stopping to rest. So it took me an hour. I think if you're a fit climber, you'd probably do it in half that. The climbing up here looks spectacular. I mean, look at this right here. My understanding is over on the Five Fingers that are behind this thing right here, you can do a climbing traverse of that area, and you can make it as hard or easy as you want. You certainly could do a class 5 traverse, and I think this area is frequented by climbers at some point. So the shade thing worked out really well. I'm really hot and I'm still in shade. I basically made the entire climb in shade, and I'm sweaty, drinking a lot. It'll be sunny on the way down, but that'll be okay, and I'll be back to the van well before 9 a.m. I'm going to look around a little bit up here, and I'll be down before it gets too hot. I'm definitely going to come down a different route, see if that's a little better, and then we'll hike up the road back to the van. And in the distance there, you can see the trail that goes up to the Owens Peak, up that way up that valley. Okay, now I've got myself situated more in the sun between the peaks. You look down the valley over towards Ridgecrest that way. And if you look down in front of the camera here, it's hard to see, but you can see the four-wheel drive Jeep trail that comes up the mountain right there. I think it goes up around that way, or maybe it comes up around this way, I'm not sure, but that's the way you can drive up, but it is definitely a Jeep trail. And then down there, I see a road, but it looks like maybe that might be the aqueduct. See some farmland down there that's irrigated, obviously. And here's a view down the area that I just climbed up between the two rocks. And this is definitely an easy class 2 scramble. Okay, this is the bigger of the lower ones, and I was up behind that between the two lower ones. And this is now looking over toward Five Fingers area. It'd be a good little jaunt to go up there, but it's getting hot, and I think I best get down. So I'm going to call it good from here and take a different route down. And there's the staging area down there in the middle. Okay, I had a little bit of a change of heart. Rather than going down, I'm going to come up between the lower pair to my right, and now I'm in the saddle between the lower peaks and the Five Fingers. And I'm just going to gain this little saddle here and get a better view over toward the Five Fingers. We'll see. I've gained the summit here. Here's the lower outcropping right there. And this is looking east towards Ridgecrest. Five Fingers over that way. We'll just walk out here and see if we can see any more of the Five Fingers if we walk around to that next ridge right there where that lone, or not lone because there's others, but the Joshua tree. Okay, I walked through the saddle and down and around a little bit, and you can see, it's kind of confusing what the foreground and the distance is, but you can see 3 of the fingers in the background there, and the first one is behind this one. I think you can barely see the second one. That's the third, that's the fourth, and that's the fifth. And this is again looking east towards Ridgecrest. You can see all these outcroppings where that ridge goes down. More knobs over there. Really pretty area, nice area to hike, but it's just getting too hot, so I better get out of here. All right, so now I'm walking back toward that saddle so you could see how far around I came. I wasn't not terribly far, maybe a quarter mile just to get the better view of the Five Fingers. But we are heading now down back toward the saddle and back toward the trail and the descent back to camp. Okay, I'm working my way down the hill. And you can see the long shadow, and you can also see that I'm kind of on a trail. And I've determined that I believe this is the trail that goes down to the staging area that's down that way where that little square area is. I would say that if you're going to do the hike, that's the area where you're going to start and just take the trail up. The way I came up was not recommended, probably harder than it needed to be. Every step of the way is kind of a slide, and you can surf it a little bit if you've got those kind of skills. There's the staging area down there, you can see. I have to say it's kind of funny how your perspective can change. So I'm coming down this youth trail and looking at it yesterday, it looked kind of daunting, so I didn't want to go up, and I thought it would be just as easy to start from my camp over that way and then just go directly up the hill. And of course it turns out that that was not the easier route. It was really difficult. Crossing the creek was difficult. Climbing up the hill was difficult. It was just really not the best way to go. So this trail right here is for sure the way to go. It does go straight up the mountain. It's pretty daunting. And the reason for that is this is obviously a climber's route or a mountaineer's route. It's not intended to be a quote-unquote hiker's route. Park down here at the staging area up ahead and where that square thing is, and then just hike right up the trail. And you can see the trail where it comes right out to the road. We'll just have to see what it's like getting across the creek. It is flowing, but I suspect that it's going to be more reasonable to cross than that willow garble that I went through. Okay, we're almost bottomed out on the trail here. Birds flying by, and there's the crossing right there. And as you can see, there's little in the way of willows or other obstacles. Yeah, obviously the stream crossing here is a heck of a lot easier than it was at the other spot. Just step on some rocks and you're across. And then we got to climb out of here. There's a fence up there. All right, so I've crossed the creek over here. That's the staging area there. You can see the van up there. I'll zoom in with the BFC, get a shot of that for you. Now it's over the fence. I'm gonna catch my pants on the barbed wire. Alrighty, so that's it. There's the peak up there behind me. Staging area right here. We gotta just hump it back on the road. You can see the van shining over there. It's probably too small in the camera to really see it. Thanks for coming along. Grab some breakfast, maybe make up some eggs. It's 8 o'clock. That little jaunt took us 2 hours in total for the round trip, including the stops and hanging out and stuff. And well, I'm not back at the van yet. It's way over there. It's gonna be another 10 minutes. Definitely was worth it to start here from the staging area. Alright, after a long, arduous hike, I figured it would be a good idea to whip up a nice breakfast burrito. Of course, I skipped breakfast before I got on the trail early and came back. Now I'm whipping up a cup of coffee and a burrito. Gonna enjoy that. Probably no more hiking today. It's too warm. Probably going to be a driving day.
I couldn't help myself. As I was heading out, I decided to head up the main road up toward the east side of the Five Fingers area, and then I came to this hairpin. I had a choice there, and I decided to whip around and head back south and see where that went.
This is the end of the road as we know it, so the main road does not go to the summit. You can drive to the summit, but they're all kind of serious Jeep trails like this one, real soft sand and extremely steep. This is what is deemed the end of the main road, the easy road that you can drive a two-wheel drive vehicle up. Off of this road are various roads that go straight up, such as this one right behind me. This is like super steep and super rutted. So this is like serious four-wheel drive Jeep only. This particular one has a post mounted in the middle of it. It probably had a sign on it with no access, but obviously people have ripped that down, as people do. Now I'm just going to walk over toward the end of the dead end. The road actually keeps going, so I'm not sure where it goes, but it may drop down to the other main road. It's not something I really want to do in the van. And if you look down there, you can see the main road below us because we did like a switchback. You know, this might connect with the lower road down there because I saw some side roads coming in. It says dead end here, and I think what they mean is dead end for the good road. And then if you keep going, you're going to end up as a four-wheel drive road, which we don't really want to do. You know, as far as walking to the summit, probably would have been easier from here. You know, there's plenty of room to park right here, so that could be done. Probably a lot easier than what I did, and then you could just hike up one of these Jeep roads to the summit. Okay, at the point back there where I did the switchback, you probably were able to see that the road continues. And what I've decided to do is to go ahead and continue on the road. And I think what it does is it spits us out over into the next canyon. And I'm kind of assuming that the road continues to look nice like this. And it's pretty amazing views over there, so I feel like it's kind of worthwhile. Here's another view of the Five Fingers area from the road that we're on, which is on the kind of the west face. And it's a very sandy road, and it continues, and I'm hoping it'll get us out of here. It's pretty sandy, but it's two-wheel drive possible so far. There's a bunch of offshoots that go up, and it's like the other part of the road. Like you see this one up here on the left. The offshoots are definitely four-wheel drive because they're steep and sandy and rutted. But the main road appears to be pretty good. Well, I'm not shocked, but the road kind of ends right here at this turnout. It actually, if you look down here, it does keep going, but you can see it's a total sandy Jeep trail. And then if you look way down there, I don't know if you can see it, but you see the white pipe there? That's part of the aqueduct. So this road apparently is maybe part of access for the aqueduct. Then you can see another road going up that valley there. Technically you can get out of here, but it's definitely a Jeep trail. And then, so if we look over this way, back up there, you can see the Five Fingers. It's a really nice view from here. You might snap a still picture of that. And then if we look across the canyon, you can see how whitey sandy it is there. And then if you look straight across the valley there, that's the road that we just came on. So we have to return that way and then go back the way we came. But in the meantime, we get a really nice view of the Five Fingers.
All right, so when we reached the end of the road, it was time to turn around. The rest of the road was just too rough, so we started heading back. And the views along the way on this road are just incredible. Now keep in mind, there are a number of side roads, so if you do have a very capable four-wheel drive vehicle, you can try some of these side roads that go up toward the Five Fingers. But this road alone is definitely worth checking out and driving. It's absolutely beautiful, fabulous views in every direction. So I really enjoyed this part. Okay, the final task of the day was to check out the Los Angeles Aqueduct. Now up in this area we have fabulous views in all directions. This is towards Owens Peak here, and then this is looking over to the southwest where I parked right at the beginning of the cement part of the aqueduct. This aqueduct is 250 miles long. It runs from the Owens Lake to Los Angeles. And this particular section runs from Indian Wells to Red Rock Summit. It's about 20 miles. And this consists of conduit, tunnels, and siphons. And you can see the way it's constructed. It's underground and it just goes up. And I believe it's pumped at this point because it's going uphill. It's an interesting area to check out. The aqueduct was commenced in 1908 and completed in 1913 at a cost of about $23 million. And there's a lot of controversy over the water rights, and there was a film from 1974 with Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway that sort of went over the problems. And it's hard sometimes to separate fiction from reality. But it's a great film and it has a cult following, so it's definitely worth checking out.
Anyway, thanks so much for coming along. If you enjoyed the video, give it the old thumbs up, like and subscribe, and until the next adventure, thanks for watching.